what does good healthcare truly mean to you?
I think I've been fortunate to have a backing where, like you said, starting from 10, doctor said, she's not going to revive. They left hopes there. No, she's not. And this one girl, she said, no, she looks very young. There's a small child. I can't give up. She kept doing the CPR, and by God's grace, or what you call it, she revived. Poorest of the patient,
They
they will
also
sell
come.
their land off to pay your bill. It's a calculation that goes in the back of your mind, and you constantly keep working on it that, okay, yes, I'm taking care of that part, and whenever required, I have my 5-year plan of my future strategy of how I'm going to do it.
What is one advice that you want to have for the next generation? We call it the Gen Alpha now.
थोड़ा अंदर रहना, इन्फेक्शन से बचना, है ना? आप लोग, आपकी फैमिली इतनी अच्छी है, यू ब्लेस्ड. इम्प्रूवमेंट इन द पेशेंट, इन द रिकवरी ऑफ दैट पेशेंट, जस्ट बिकॉज दे डिड नॉट फील अलोन इन दैट जर्नी ऑफ हीलिंग.
Self-healing capabilities of the body. I mean, we hear a lot from the Indian mythology, culture.
I will be very humble, feeling that I have done what I could to the best of my abilities.
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi, for coming to Barta India Dekho. It's an absolute privilege. And I know we have spoken almost a month back. We have been waiting for Kailash Hospitals also to come on the show because it's a well-known brand. And how does the future look like? बहुत सारी चीजें. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Help you understand while there are so many questions that are coming to my mind as we start. But given that you transitioned into this role of managing such a large setup right from the beginning, right? Most entrepreneurs jo yahan aate hain, and mostly in their life journeys also, they start from 0 to 1. And then comes books of 1 to 10 and then 10 to 100.
Yes.
How does starting at 100 feel like from your journey perspective?
Yes, I think I've been fortunate to have a backing where, like you said, starting from 10, but it's a big responsibility at the same time because those 10 that have gone down have raised certain expectations and they've raised the bar to the next level. So you need to work in accordance what next is coming up. So that is very frequently the asked question as to, okay, you've grown from a 1985 from a small clinic. So I think that's a very big responsibility, and to keep up with what is there in the market, what is there in the healthcare fraternity, because it's a very, very dynamic fraternity with tech, with manpower, everything changing very quickly. So I think keeping up with it is a great challenge. And I'm very thankful and grateful to my team that I have as a backing there because, and a very, very senior team there whom I look up to for guidance, for ideas, for everything. And I think that's how, it's a big responsibility, but it's fun also that you have a foundation, you have a very strong building, but you have to build further. So that's it's always fun, exciting, sometimes challenging. A lot of times you feel, oh, I'm not doing things as maybe people expect, and like, okay, he's such a big personality. He's lived up to those expectations. Would you be living up to those expectations? Those questions always come to you. But I think with team effort, it's always good going.
Normally, in a situation like yours, there are two things that can happen. One is you want to do this because you've seen your dad, you've seen that family environment. We were discussing last, you spoke about everyone is a doctor around you, right? Including now your husband and the extended family. And the second thing is, I don't want to do this because everyone around me is doing that. What was your version of the story?
I think when we talk about medicine,
Yeah.
it came very naturally to me. I didn't have to push for it, or somebody didn't have to convince me for doing it. I think when, as a child, you grow up seeing certain things, it kinds of gets imbibed in your mind and you watch those things very closely. So when my parents started, I was too young. For a child, it is those little pen or a diary that, a doctor would get back then might be a very fascinating thing that, oh, my mama's getting a pen or a diary or something. And initially it was maybe those small little things. But later, as we grew, we really felt, because my grandfather was a teacher and a very disciplined one, because we barely had our parents around when we were growing. So they were the ones who actually brought us up. And my father and mother being doctors, these two professions were so noble. Whenever we went out in public, in your school, in places around when you're visiting, always saw people, respecting them so much, hugging them, thanking them,
Touching their feet.
touching their feet, and always saying, "Oh, Master Ji ka beta," and "Doc Saab." They will always even treat you with that respect. So I think that was the one charm that always looked so attractive, that, oh my God, people respect you so much. I think now the doctor-patient relationship has gone through various changes from what it was back then. But it was so fascinating to look at and to feel. It felt so honored and so elated to somebody to be greeting you in those manner. There was this one incident that I specifically remember, that my mother, because obviously she's a gynecologist, there was this one person who used to put up a very small tea stall kind of a setup, because when he started, Noida was not a place that was
Yeah.
very happening. It was
Yeah.
not the Noida of
Almost a
today.
village.
It was a very rural area, very unsafe.
Yeah.
There was just, maybe all greenery and forest around. Very hardly few, some, I think the beneficiaries of the army got settled. That was the first settlement actually there in Noida. And then it was very unsafe, all the crime and everything in UP back then. So when they started, this very small person from a tea stall comes in, and his wife was having problem conceiving. And after my mother's treatment, and they conceived, they got a baby. And every time I saw him come home, because somehow I saw my parents had a very personal connect with everybody, they would not just be treating them, they would know everything about their family. Okay, you went back and somebody in your family got married, or they had kids. They'll know the entire history of their family. They will not just say that, okay, I wrote your prescription, you got well, and that's fine. They would know everything in and out about that person. I saw this man every year, and I said, this is the same man. As I was growing up, same man coming. And gradually, from a little tea stall, he opened a small pastry shop and everything. And then today, he's a chef in a five-star hotel. And even till now, he, on every birthday, on my mom's birthday, he sends a cake that is baked by him at home. And I mean, that is the level of gratitude and the connect that people have in a profession like healthcare, where you touch lives, because nobody comes to a hospital very happy. Everybody is distressed, They're feeling, they are in pain, they are in distress. One, they have to heal. Second, they also have to pay for that. So it's like a dual hit on them. Anybody who comforts you, then anybody who, apart from the fact that treats you, comforts you well, is given so much of a respect and honor in this society. So I think that was something that always attracted me to this profession right from the beginning. I personally, in my journey as I was growing up, because maths and science, back then is like either you become a doctor or you become an engineer. These are two major options that you want. It's like, what do you want to do? I always had that inclination. I said, okay, I was not a very good at math person, but yes, very good at science and sociology and everything. So I said, okay, fine. I'm a good teacher. I used to, when I studied, I used to make my toys sit in front of me and make photographs sit in front of me. I used to write on the board and teach them. Everybody in my family told me, oh, you're a very good teacher. You explain things very nicely. So I always had two things that I'd either become a professor, or because I always had that love for science, because it was all about reasoning, about learning logic, about, what's happening around
Around
you,
you,
why,
right?
why not.
Yeah.
So that always kept growing. When I was in 10th, I had a medical condition. Because I was too studious and I was too geeky, I had a disc prolapse, which is like it's like you have a spine, and then between the vertebrae or the bony parts, you have those small disc-like spaces. They're like gel substances where your spinal cord is going, and it helps the spine to move if you're moving around. So this spine, because it's a bony, it's hard. So there has to be a gelatinous substance to support the movement. And because I was too studious, I hardly ever went out to play or get involved in any kind of a sports activity. I was
Always
like those
sitting.
95, 97% or toppers of the class and everything. And everybody appreciated that, back then, that, oh, she's such a nice girl, studious girl, and very good. I never realized that I was doing something wrong with myself. And suddenly I had my 10th exam, and I remember because I had prepared like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th, 10th revision. And I remember Bhagat Singh released, and I said, I've studied too much. I'm going to watch a movie. And I was just sitting for it was a long movie. So I was sitting for that entire duration. And suddenly I had a very spasm kind of a pain in my back. And I told my parents that, it's feeling weird and I'm having a They said, oh, you're young, maybe it's a spasm or something. Rest, take some hot fermentation and everything. Did that. 2, 3 days passed. And then suddenly one day I'm just in the washroom and I very casually just bend down to pick up a mug for having a bath. And then I suddenly scream in severe pain. And because my room was locked, I was having a bath. And that time we had no cell phones. We were kids. And you don't have
No one
cell
heard
phones.
that.
No one. So I screamed and I was like in such severe pain. And I was like, what to do? Somehow I managed to grab my bathing gown and I rolled over. There was some landline phone around. And I somehow rolled over and I called my parents, whoever was downstairs. And I said, I'm in severe pain. I don't know what has happened. It's really bad. So they came rushing and they were banging on the doors. I'm like, now who's going to open the door? Because it's locked from inside. Obviously, they'll have to break it up. Somehow I gathered my courage and I said, oh, I have to get up. And somehow I opened it and I just lied down. They picked me up. And again, everybody thought that, oh, it's nothing. Oh, you just got, जैसे कमर में झटका आ जाते हैं ना, कौन बच्चे को सोचता है कि 8वीं 10वीं क्लास के बच्चे में
Right.
कोई प्रॉब्लम होगा. कुछ नहीं हुआ. Again 2-3 days है nothing. कुछ नहीं, relax करो, कुछ नहीं हुआ, कुछ नहीं हुआ. 3 days back again I had a very severe pain. They said, no, this is the third time. Rushed for an MRI. I had this disc prolapse which was pressing upon my nerves for good 6 months. I
Is
could
this very
not.
common?
It's not very
Ah.
common. Back then it was not very common. Today it has become very common because of bad postures, because of people, sitting for long
Sitting
hours.
for
People
long
in the
hours.
corporates who are sitting for long hours. There is no movement. So for a youngster, it
Very
was very
rare.
uncommon because children would generally go out to play. But I never realized that in being from a healthcare family, having parents as doctors, nobody told me that, playing is also important. You need to work your muscles out. So that was a very, very bad phase. And I think I went into a complete depression because my grandmother had to pick me up and take me to the washroom. And I was because back then, now there are very multiple options for surgeries and everything. He said, oh, it's a spine surgery. It might be, I'll land into paralysis at this stage and everything. So obviously everybody got scared that what are we going to do? It was my orthopedician, and kudos to him that he was the one who actually got me out of it and said, see, this is a physical problem. It's not a disease. It's not an illness. It's just because you've not worked up your muscles. Just let this phase pass. You need to strengthen your muscles, work it up. And I promise you, you'll be back on your feet. That time I was like, what am I doing? My 3 times old, my grandmother's picking me up. My
Even more
life is no
maybe.
use. I was like, let's just finish everything. I was like, please God, finish it all. But kept crying. And that 10th is when you're giving your exams. And then you are also preparing for your entrance exams, because by that time I started making up my mind that no, I will be going towards medicine. So I'd applied for an Akash Institute, this thing that I'd be going for my coaching, post my school and everything. And here I was bedridden for good 6 months. I couldn't move. I kept crying. I'd purchased all my books. I kept crying and I kept reading that, oh no, I'll get better. And thankfully, that phase passed and everything. But that made me learn a lesson that, if I, being from a healthcare family, can undergo this problem, that means that awareness about what is good for your health and what is not good for your health is very minimal.
Yeah.
And, that's when I said that no, I have to really tell others. And today I have a son, 9-year-old. So I tell him that no, see, it's okay, good to study.
And
Go
be
out and
active.
play. I go and do, I mean, all of our doctors, we go and do these health talks. We tell people that, what you need to do. Because health is not about treatment. It's not about being sick and being treated. It's about the way you live. It's about the quality of life that you have at a particular age. Every age will have different problems. And I mean, a similar story happened with my mother when I was again 3, and my parents were traveling in a night for some party, and they had an accident. And that back then it was a old Annie car, a very old version. So they had an accident, and it was a truck that hit them. And my father was driving. I was fortunately just few seconds before the accident. I was in the car. My brother was too young, so he left at home. And I just fraction of seconds had gone back to the seat, the back seat, and my parents were in the front. My father was driving, and this truck happens to hit. It was a night, foggy day somewhere in the winters, and they hit by my mother's side. And obviously, he was trying to turn the other direction. So, horrible accident. And this is, of course, I was 3 years old, so I don't have any memories of that, but this is what I've heard from people. There was some small nursing home close by, very
Okay.
small clinic set up. And some nurse was going off duty at the time, and she saw this accident, and she saw that, there's a female, because mom was the front shield of the car had not been, she was outside of the car. My father was, because he was trying to turn, he had turned, and nobody saw me. What had happened was that in the event of the accident, the seats probably on the back seat had got turned down, and I was probably under that cushioned
My God.
surface. It turned back inside, and my father was semi-conscious. He was saying "bachchi, bachchi," because they could only see these two people hanging out of the car. And this girl, she shouts and she calls people around that, oh, there's been an accident. And so bad that, that truck driver, he just runs away. My mom, because she was coming from party, she was wearing some jewelry, he just takes off the jewelry and runs
My
away.
God, what are you saying?
So people come around, they pull out my parents and they take them to the nursing home. And obviously, my father had a very minor fracture in his arm because he was trying to turn the car, but my mother was in a very bad situation. So they had no identification. They found out my father's from this wallet. They found out some telephone numbers and everything. Managed to call my mama, who was
You were
also
still in the car.
I was still in the car. Nobody knew that I was in the car because it had downturned. It was only that he said that my father was saying "bachchi, bachchi."
And you were unconscious.
There's some child in the car as well. So then a crane was brought. They informed the police. The police was on site, and while they were doing all the medical treatments and everything, the whole car was torn apart, and that's how I came out of that thing. And thankfully, my leg was fractured very slightly, it's a hairline fracture. I
But
was
otherwise, you were okay.
protected. I was absolutely okay because I had turned that
And you were
that
kind
that
of
cushion.
protected by
Yeah, it
that.
was kind of protected by that seat cushion.
And how long were you inside?
I have no clue. I have no clue because I have no memories of this actually, but this is what people tell me. And when they were shifting my mother, my mama was also that time they were doing their house job in Safdarjung Hospital. So when he heard, he rushed obviously, and my father gained some consciousness. They took me in the lab, crying, a little bit of injuries. But they said that, she's not going to survive. Your mother's not going to make it. They told my father and the family, everybody, said, you have to rush her to a bigger facility. She's bleeding too much. And while all this was happening, there was a complete shutdown on the ECG. There was a flat line. And he said, oh, it's too late. We won't be able to shift her. That one nurse who saw that accident happen, it is a protocol that whenever there is a flat line on an ECG, then you start a CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, where
Which is
you try to resuscitate your patient. She started that resuscitation, and for about almost 30-45 minutes, she was doing that resuscitation. And there's a process with another colleague of yours. So she kept doing it. She looks very young, there's a small child. I can't give up. She kept doing the CPR, and by God's grace, or what you call it, she revived. They rushed her immediately. Obviously, the moment they had a heartbeat, they said, don't wait, just rush. So they had intubated her, stabilized her and everything. And they said, you can't manage it. It's a very small nursing home. Rush her to a bigger facility. She was rushed. My mother has practically half of her face was shattered by the glass. As out of her. She had like multiple sessions of surgeries, plastic surgeries. And the kind of strong woman that she is, she's my model of Shakti actually. And she recovered from that trauma and everything. But when I hear that story from my elders that this happened, and I have very faint memories of writing on my mother's. She had various fractures in her spine, this, that, multiple injuries. And she was on bed for a very long time, doing everything. And I remember writing on her
and that
casts and
plaster,
the
yeah.
plaster cast and everything. And I remember very faint memories of that. When I hear this, I said, one female one healthcare worker could
Create that impact.
made that impact to her life, because she did not give up on her patient. She wanted to go beyond her duty. It was not her duty to go. Normal protocol say that, oh, 45 minutes, you've done enough. I think you
That's
won't be able to.
even long, very long,
Very
45
long.
minutes itself.
They tried that.
Yeah.
They do that. For a young patient, you push
Sure.
harder.
Sure.
That, it's a child, young patient. Let's try, do something. You push in all your drugs and everything. You try and be proactive. But if that one patient, one active healthcare worker can make an impact to a life. And when I heard this story, and I tell, I mean, a lot of our, because I told you that most of my employees have been with us for about 30 years and so I think they know that story more than myself, and they
Yeah.
narrate it to me actually.
Yeah.
I tell them that, see the power of one healthcare worker in a very small setup. So what matters in healthcare is not about the size of the building. It's not about the infrastructure. It's about the feeling. It's about how you connect with your patient and what you want to do and go beyond duty. It's going beyond care. So that is the biggest thing that I think I'm very proud of, saying the fact that this has been ingrained so deeply in the ethos of Kailash that you might be treating a patient of whatever strata, but forget everything for a while and just see that person as a human being, as your daughter, your son, your father, or a mother, and what you would do if you would have been in that place. So that's, I think, the greatest takeaway. So I think all of these incidences, as I was growing up, hearing about my mother, seeing her do everything. My Nanaji died very young. My Nani was widowed. Children were young. My Mossy was doing botany honors, so she had to leave her education because she had to support the family. She did a job. My parents were, I mean, my father was also, five sons and one teacher bringing up five sons. And, they barely met the regular needs. One room, bear the costs and everything. So when I hear all these stories, said, if he had the vision to take this to this level, and with the kind of conviction and dedication and with the ethical principles of not because I think that was something that always stayed with me. I want to do this, and I want to do this with the same, the force and the strength and the vision that he has, and multiply it much more. So I think that was something that really connected me to this profession. And every day, I think, is a new day. We hear new stories, new challenges, but the very gratifying part of being in this profession is these stories that touch lives.
Absolutely amazing. Multiple themes come out of what you're talking about. Maybe we'll just pick the first two that are coming to my mind now. First is empathy that you're talking about. And what would be your employee strength now across?
About cross would be around 9,000.
9,000, right? So it's a large number, right? And that's a lot of people. When you're talking about the feeling of empathy and feeling that for the patient as if this is my family member, of course, it's comparatively easier to drive it at the top because they are very close to the bigger picture and they understand the mission and vision of the organization. But right at the bottom, and maybe out of 9,000, 8,000 are right at the bottom, right? Who are kind of addressing the patient on a daily basis. What is you or Kailash kind of reaching out to them to imbibe that on a daily basis?
Yes. Yeah, I think very correctly you've asked the right question, that having such a big staff to inculcate those values right down to the last person who's serving is always a challenge. But I think constant training and connect by the senior management is something that keeps them in line with what you want. So having frequent discussions, like, you know, thankfully, because we are doctors, there are a lot of corporate chains being run by non clinical people. They might not understand those things as much. But we, as doctors and clinicians of different specialities, I think we, or our discussions even back home or even in the hospital, so we keep discussing these cases. I think that is what keeps the staff in connect. That we, it's not like we are sitting in the boardrooms doing just the spreadsheets and the numbers. And we are really connected down the line to that last person, to every patient, thankfully, because, now the trust level is so much. And the people around, they have faith. they call you right in the middle of the night that, I am sending a patient. And not in every organization they would call a director level person and inform. It's like, it's a regular person. You just go to
Yeah.
the emergency and do it. But they have that sense of satisfaction that they call you. And we feel that responsibility as well and said, okay, oh, you're coming. I'll keep everything prepped. I'll give a call to my emergency physician. So this person is coming. It's a child. It's a cardiac patient. Take care. They're coming from far away. Some people are traveling from Bihar, Meerut, Muzaffarnagar. That connect with the people straight away is still not gone in Kailash. I mean, some people say it's, too much, that you should leave it to them. But we always feel very proud of connecting there. And when we do that, we are, in a very small, summarized way, maybe taking, today we have a lot of technology. So if I say that, oh, I got this call myself, I want to be updated about this patient's condition every day. I'll call some of my person, manager, nurse, in charge, whatever down the line. बेटा हाँ कैसे हो अच्छा ठीक है ना कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है just taking around just enter their room कैसे हैं आप they feel that personal connect
Yeah.
that I'm not left to the staff, and the staff also knows that every patient in Kailash is a family member of, you treat them with the same amount of integrity and conscience and values that we inculcate. Of course, you keep repeating it, keep hammering it in all building, in all your meetings, in your HR trainings and inductions and everything. But you need to keep revising and revisiting it every time. So I think that's what keep the entire staff very, very, it keeps reminding them that you cannot forget these values.
I think you very well you put it in a way to say that if they see a story around them, that's a much easier way to bring in belief. Of course, repetition and hammering works, but once they see that one story of transformation, they are able to see. And there, I think a lot of your older employees must be playing a big part
Absolutely,
in making
absolutely.
sure it's each time it's going to
Yes, in
every.
fact, I will tell you about a very recent incident 2 days back. We had the new people coming also, new energy coming, new ideas coming from the corporate sector with different kind of working standards. A lady, eclampsia. Eclampsia is a condition where a pregnant female goes into fits. She's pregnant, she's about to deliver, she has a neurological condition. This lady was a very poor lady, and she's being referred from one of the government small setups to the larger government setup. She was referred for Safdarjung Hospital because she was in a fit situation. Somehow because of the goodwill and the strength that Kailash has earned, the attendants thought that Kailash mein wo differentiation nahi hota hai. Let's just they could, how can you know leave a person in a ambulance when you are seeing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
person
yeah.
have seizure in front of you. So they thought, let's try it. They entered, the ambulance enters inside, and we are not there. This is middle of the night, and one of our old employees is on duty there. And some of the newer ones, the doctor said, oh, they're very poor. They won't be able to afford care and everything. And, they've anyways been referred to Safdarjung. Let's rush them, push them. Go, don't waste time. Go, go, go. And this one man who is there, who knows the ethos of Kailash, just goes to the doctor. He's a non-clinical person. He's just a manager. He's been with us for 30 years. He calls sir directly. Says, sir, ये lady है. अगर ये यहाँ से निकली, पता नहीं ये सफ्दरजंग पहुंचेगी कि नहीं. She might. And there is a child. She's pregnant. Obviously, they knew. Sir said, nothing doing. When there is a life, I don't care about the money. She was taken in, delivered, treated. She had a baby boy. And I think she's still in the ICU, recovering. Their family, this is something very, very peculiar, that people say, oh, गरीब आदमी है, पैसे नहीं है. You treat them. और जो मेरे फादर मुझे हमेशा ऐसे कहते हैं, बेटा बड़ों का आशीर्वाद और एक गरीब की दुआ. हम शायद इतने काबिल नहीं थे. मुझसे बहुत बड़े-बड़े लोग थे जिन्होंने बहुत कुछ हासिल किया मुझसे ज़्यादा, मुझसे बड़ी डिग्रियाँ हासिल की, शायद मुझसे ज़्यादा स्मार्ट थे, इंटेलिजेंट थे, सब कुछ थे. पर शायद आज हम जो हैं, वो उन 2 चीज़ों की देन है. ही सेड, बेटा कुछ भी करो, पर कभी किसी गरीब की, किसी आदमी की जहाँ ज़िंदगी इन्वॉल्व्ड हो, आप कुछ बेच नहीं रहे, आप कोई प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेच रहे. आप एक इंसान के लाइफ के साथ वो करो. Yes, if the patient is stable, non-affording, you have a right to counsel and you can stably shift. But when the question is about whether I can save this life timely. Can my intervention, can a few thousand rupees be more important than someone's life? And that night, when you hear that thing, and sir was constantly following up, because the moment he said that, okay, take in the patient, I said, oh, now we have to do everything possible to save that patient. She was rushed. Then they said, sir, beta ho gaya. Beta is okay. Mother still needs to be in the ICU. She needs to get a particular treatment and everything. And after few days, वो बेचारे गरीब लोग को कहीं से they made everything that possible that they could. They made all their efforts and they got an amount and said that sir हमारे पास ये इतना है. And he is like, कोई बात नहीं बेटा, तुम्हारा मरीज ठीक हो गया. That's more than enough for me. वो जो खुशी और वो जो मतलब they were literally into his feet के आपने बचा लिया सर.
Understand.
So ये जो ethos है, like you were talking about this old they know
Yeah.
कि मेरा लीडर
Yeah.
क्या विजन के साथ काम कर रहा है. A new person might not understand that, but that's where these new people, the older ones, they do that hand holding. And sometimes I was a child in front of them, so
Yeah.
most of them tell me, "Madam, आप इतने से थे जब हमने आपको देखा था." So and they really treat me like their own daughter. And sometimes they tell me, "हाँ मैडम, ये करना चाहिए." नहीं नहीं, आप ना ज़्यादा गुस्सा हो गए आज आप. So they will tell me कि नहीं, because they treat me like a daughter. And I feel so fortunate and happy to have those people that, apart from my parents, I have others, seniors who are correcting me, telling me, guiding me. So, and not just me. When I mean me, I mean my brother also.
Compatriots,
He's
yeah.
there, and now, of course, my husband, his wife, they're all doctors.
Yeah.
So we have those people looking after us and guiding us. So that's really really a very nice feeling to be with.
Fantastic. I don't want to actually get distracted to a different question because this is such a warm conversation. Business and the mission. If there is no business, the mission also is not there, right? In a way.
Absolutely.
How do you? And it's a much larger setup that you're managing. How do you balance the two things in your daily operations? And
Absolutely. Very true. I think, like, again, for everything I quote my father because I've learned it all from him,
yeah,
watching
I
him,
get it.
learning him. When he was not earning anything, when he barely could meet the ends,
Yeah.
he was helping those people. And they were the ones who helped, build that trust. And then there are 30 plus years of families who are still their children and their children and their children are running and they are getting their treatments done in Kailash. So he always said that, see, if I do a business with a mindset of earning money, then I would be working in a totally different manner. I would just be looking at numbers, okay, how much earned today, khajanchi wala kaam hai na? Nahi. And he said that if you're working, you're a professional. Okay, you are working for the benefit, you're doing what you're supposed to do, what you have been skilled with, what you have been trained to do, then finances is a byproduct. It will come. It will not run away. Nobody is, if there are patients who are not, like I said, even the poorest of the patient,
They
they will
also
sell
come.
their land off to pay your bill. You might give them a discount. You might do whatever best you can for them.
They
But
would in fact have higher self-esteem in these cases
yes,
as
yes.
compared to the
So
city folks.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
That a lot of people tell me, "Oh, ma'am, are you not, getting investors? Are you not?" I said, "Yes, the day I need it, I would, because I know that financial sustainability for any organization is equally important. Because today, earlier on, maybe it was that not that big a thing, but today, when you're investing in technology, when you're investing in higher
You need
trained,
money.
super trained manpowers, then the expectations
Yeah.
are higher. But if you still focus on the basics, on the care, that is something that keeps building automatically. I think if you look at it at a very focused angle and say that, oh, today I want to earn this much amount of money, and so I'm going to see this, it's you retrograde thinking, that doesn't work. At least for us, it doesn't work. We are sitting down with our team members, with our financial advisors, with our board members, with everybody. We do have that discussion that, okay, yes, this is the requirement. This is what the company needs. This is what the patients need. This is what doctors need. So I need to plan my finances accordingly. And so we always work with a very open mind that, as long as we are being able to sustain as a brand and as somebody who does not need any kind of an outside investment as far as possible, Maybe some years down the line, we also might be going into the same direction. But as far as possible, as long as we can sustain it, we will. And any day when that is required, that will obviously be the call, because compromising on quality is something that you can't do in healthcare, because you're dealing with lives.
Yeah, it's like
So
airline safety.
yeah,
You
so
can't take a
you can't
call.
take a call.
Let's be unsafe.
And I mean, unfortunately, today everything comes at a cost. It's if you are buying a single MRI machine, few crores is like gone nowhere. And a cath lab machine or robotics or IVF procedures or whatever advanced things that are coming, or AI softwares now, it's become compulsory. You can't operate efficiently if you're not imbibing these technologies within your system.
True, true.
So they all come at a
Become
cost,
hygiene now.
obviously. So you have to do that working, you have to do that planning. It's a calculation that goes in the back of your mind. And you constantly keep working on it that, okay, yes, I'm taking care of that part and whenever required. But yes, today we are bootstrapped. And as long as we can be bootstrapped without, because then, there's this liberty of working the way you want. Somewhere, the ethos, the principles that you've
Yeah.
worked with so far, once you start partnering, you
Yeah,
have
I know.
investors, you have
The
people,
feeling.
and then you have their expectations
Yes.
also to live up to. And obviously, they put in their hard earned money there. So today we are bootstrapped, maybe tomorrow not. Whenever required, we will do what is necessary for the patients, for the company, for the doctors, for delivering quality care
Mm.
is very important.
Very, very, very lucky to one. This is a dream situation to be in, right? Bootstrapped after so almost so many years. As a founder myself, this is the ideal case scenario, right? Multiple questions are coming to my mind. I'm having to choose which one to ask, but help me understand, when you're driving an organization with that kind of ethos, that kind of values, large workforce, what takes more time as a founder? Is it the next few years strategy that you're building? Because it's very heavy operations also. And I'm sure you would have a lot of leadership folks who are looking at the daily operations. But from a mind space perspective, what takes more time as a founder? And I also want to get into, there's a lot of now talk happening on that we should not be treating only the illness, right? We should also focus on the wellness bit. So we'll come to that. But how does your typical week, month look like? Is it more strategy or is it more day to day operations?
Very appropriately asked. I think there has to be a balance between the two. Like I said, I always make sure that I focus on the basics and the clinical care more. This is one part I'm weaker at, that at the economics part. But when I do sit with my team, which is like you said, that in a week, maybe 2 days in a week or so, I do sit with my team and have that discussion of, okay, what are we doing? How far have we reached? And, because this is one place where, a salary has not been skipped for a single day for the last 40 plus years.
Yeah.
So every time, especially around that period when the salaries have to be released, the whole financial balance and everything needs to be worked up and everything. I do sit, I think if I actually cut it down into percentages, I think 60% I work on still the basic ethos where the clinical care comes in, where I do keep myself in touch as to, okay, what is happening everywhere. Like, obviously, I can't do it in person
Yeah.
with everybody. But I have people down the line whom I connect with. Okay, what was your number today? You did well. Any issues? Any feedback is something that really helps you get to that. And today you have digital feedback, so
Yeah.
it becomes easier to analyze at the end of the day. So maybe 60-40. 60 is what I give to my basics, being a doctor. And 40% I would say I give to the economics part of it, where we're doing those discussions with the people who are knowledgeable.
Got it. Got it. And therefore, coming to the second part of the question, that we are hearing a lot about integrated healthcare, right now. And as you mentioned, being from a medical family also, there was something that happened to you during your class 10 boards, but you were not aware. And that kind of scared me also while hearing that I have no idea what's going on inside me right now. While being from a well off environment, at least, what is Kailash, or where is the industry moving towards, is the first question. And second, from very layman perspective, what all should we keep in mind while.
See, that's what I feel that there should be this very very big change about healthcare. As of now in India, we are living with this mindset that you are sick, You go to the hospital, you get treated, and you get back. That is not healthcare. That is what, when I suffered that thing and what my orthopedician told me, I have, ever since lived with this concept, and I've been very passionate about doing it. That, and even my father as well, I mean, because he's so very well connected to the community. He says the larger vision of developing healthcare as a holistic, integrated model is not about looking at it in the form of sickness. It's about your, like I said, the wellness and the quality of life. And thankfully, we are living in an era of AI and technology, and we have blood samples and radio diagnostics available, which in a second can tell you, screen your body, tell what you have. But are we aware enough about my health? How am I doing it? And a very big discussion about this is also about, is it just about medications? Is it just about surgeries?
Yeah.
No, there is a much, much bigger vision to healthcare that we need to today understand. I feel so great that, we have a prime minister who's talking about Fit India, who's talking about health being priority. He's talking to the youth, you should do this. The first time I organized a marathon in Kailash, I was skeptical who would come 5 o'clock in the morning and
And
run.
run.
We don't have that culture. And you get up 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was very skeptical. We were doing this, but I don't know. I'm not sure people would turn up. I was so amazed. 70, 75-year-old elderlies to 5 or 6-year-old kids. They were all there 5 o'clock in the morning, dancing, doing Zumba, jogging, running, and with fun. And that's, when I realized that, you have to make healthcare a revolution now in India. It has to be about me realizing, like, January is the month every year when me and my husband, my kid is too young. But for adults, for maybe 30 plus people, which we are reading every day that, a very famous person or an average human being who was absolutely fit, doing his work, and suddenly collapses, suddenly has a cardio neuro
Brown
event.
heart.
So we really have to understand that we are living in a world where we don't know what we are breathing, the pollution, you don't know what you're drinking, your water might be contaminated, the processed food that you're taking, your lifestyles have gone haywire from what they were when India was, maybe in a very developing stage. और अदर हम उल्टा चल रहे हैं, कभी-कभी सोने की चिड़िया थे, तो थोड़ा वो जो बीच वाला गैप आया from the colonial era, it was a big setback to the nation. So हम सुश्रुत और चरक के देश हैं भाई. We have had, and I myself actually did not believe in this concept, but it was, I mean, COVID that made me realize this aspect that, where and how can you prevent this to an extent? Obviously, everything is not under your control. You can't prevent everything. But are we looking at the big picture? Are we doing what we can? We are doing our share of. I'm making sure I tell this especially to women because they tend to, uh, you know, forget this more. That say, oh, I'm getting my blood test, my health checkup done for my husband. I'm getting it done for my child, for everybody.
Not for
She
themselves.
forgets herself. So, are you doing enough today? You have such simple tests. One annual checkup. I just did mine a few days back. It's January. That feeling that, oh, everything's fine. It gets that because I see those things happening in front of my eyes every day. There are youngsters who have to be convinced that go and get a health checkup. You might be looking fine. You might be okay, but these things are happening inside your body. And because you cannot control everything that you're consuming, both physically and mentally, it is
Yeah.
impacting your health.
Sorry for cutting
Yeah.
you short, but when you say health checkup, just for our audience, can you tell us the buffet that this should be included in that annual
Yes,
health
see, the
checkup?
very basic.
Hmm.
See, there is an entire body and
Hmm.
it has so many systems,
Yeah.
excretory system, urinary system, cardiac. But the broad spectrum, your vital organs is what you check for.
Okay.
What you mostly see that, okay, what are the maximum number of cases which are causing trouble today? Your brain, your heart, your liver, your kidney. Grossly the most important organs where you need to screen. Now, very simple test, a CBC, that is a complete blood profile of, okay, a simple female is feeling lethargic, tired, headache, doesn't know she has a hemoglobin of 6. Simple test can tell you that. You just need to take care of your diet, maybe few supplements. But that is very basic. A lipid profile test, maybe your cardiac evaluations, which would be your ECG, your eco screening. If you're very fit and fine, if you can take the TMT test, which makes you run on the treadmill and see how, if you are fit enough for that after your ECG and eco screening. Then you have a similar test, the fibroscan, the lipid, the profile, the kidney profiles, the LFTs and KFTs. So these are those basic tests which you can at least get a baseline. And today it's very easy. I think most of the hospitals have this packages made for this screening, that screening. And depending upon your age, you're a young person and you feel fine, everything is okay. So you do a very limited parameters at, oh, this much would suffice. If you have some problems and you feel, oh, I have these hormonal issues, then I should go for the hormonal profile. Oh, I'm having PCOS and this, and there is a specific profile for females, targeted for males. Are you in that category where you're susceptible to cancers, to identifying early onset of cancers? And there are separate screen. So it's become very easy. You just have to go, get a counseling done, choose a package for yourself and get it done. And you don't even have to go to the hospital for that. You can just call a person at home. He just collect your samples and half of your history is in front of your eyes. You don't even need to go and collect the report. It's on your app. Why not do this? It is so essential today and for everybody. Of course, not kids. We don't want to puncture them for unnecessary reasons. We assume that, they're doing good. But then, even if you're not doing these blood tests, you must be the childhood obesity is increasing. There are events of, children having cardiac events and this thing, autistic behaviors, depression. This was never in our community. I hear of 19 and 20-year-old people taking treatment from my psychiatrists and psychologists, taking counseling sessions for depression. Community is changing. The type of diseases are changing. We were fighting infectious diseases maybe 30, 40 years back. Today, the strata, the kind of diseases has changed. We are mostly fighting lifestyle related disorders. So the least you can do to correct it is, apart from your checkup, which will just be once in a year, correct your lifestyle. And most people don't want that. Some of them would get a health checkup done and, they would say, oh, I'll pop that pill. I have a ache. I have a stomach ache. I have a headache. I have realizing
Eating
that
the root.
pain that you're having is your body's signal that something is wrong. And that is what, that's why I get this picture of getting Ayurveda and alternative medicine in place, because this was the therapy that was not immediate. It was not acute. I cannot have a heart attack and I can't say, oh, go to an Ayurveda specialist. No, there are indications, there are specific indications, but it works for chronic lifestyle related disorders. And like I said, that this one thing came to my mind. Again, there is a this thing about it, something that is age old, more than 5,000 years, mentioned in your Rig Veda and other Vedas. And if you can combine the two therapies, the two modalities, to benefit the patient in such a way that, yes, he is taking your medicines, he is taking, maybe if he needs a surgery, he's doing that. But are you looking at the picture before it and after it? And if something has happened to maybe one family member, are the rest of the others who have seen that person suffer realizing that, oh, I did the same thing few days back. I had the same pain few days back. And I'm not saying about people who are, unaware, illiterate, uneducated. This is people who are educated, who are very well off people, but they ignore their health. So it's very, very important. You cannot, whatever you might be doing in your life, you might be in any industry, working anything, a salaried job, an entrepreneur, whatever. Can you work if you're not well? Even if a small pin punctures you, your attention goes to that little scratch
Point of
that
the
you
body.
have. You have to give the due respect to your body, and it's such a beautifully designed system. And being a science student, you marvel at it. You cannot create a robot that perfect. Every system is so beautifully aligned, working with each other. You don't know you're breathing, you don't know your heart's beating, you don't know your guts digesting. Everything is happening. You just need to strike a balance and understand. Listen to your body. Learn to listen to your body. And you not just because normally symptoms tell you something's abnormal. But today you have the advantage of, before symptoms arise, you can get this screening. Once in a year, you get this screening and you rest assured, okay, I'm good to go for the next 1 year. I'll repeat it. So it's not like I get a blood test one, 5 साल पहले कराया था. Pictures change 5 years. Your diet might have changed, your surroundings might have changed, anything might have changed. So it's an annual process that's very, very important. And the other thing that I feel very important, that I feel very strongly about, is what has been ignored in Indian healthcare is mental health, which is recently developing. Maybe we don't have data of how many people suffered previously, but what data we have today is massive and it's growing. We have to talk about that concern because, again, I said that, COVID had so many teachings. It's like, the world is divided into a pre-COVID and a post-COVID era where mental health, I have seen it in front of my eyes. And I've seen the difference of what mental health can do in healthcare also. I'm telling you this incidence of a 100-year-old man,
100-year-old.
100-year-old man, where COVID was saying that, oh, comorbid people, old age people, highly susceptible to death, cannot save, blah, blah, blah. COVID 1, this man gets admitted, one branch of Kailash. Second COVID phase, he again gets admitted. That's when I come across this person. And why? Because his family members said that, because COVID was one time when you had to stand by your team members
Yes,
because everybody
yeah,
was running around.
yeah.
There were nurses, there were students, there were staff, and they said, why should we stay? My life is at risk. So I think all of the leadership took, because we were doctors as well, we took that responsibility that we are going to be standing by the side of our team. We're going to be there. And while we used to be on our rounds, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, keep seeing what is required, because that time you are running behind ventilators, oxygen management, this, that, blah, blah. The hospital management is also running around doing everything. And I see this, there is a Sadar family, and they see me running around. They said, maybe she's an authoritative person. I was like, said, my grandfather is, he's getting better thanks to your treatment. But he's, saying that I want to go to Canada. Please, you are a doctor, you're a senior person, go and talk to him. Just tell him we don't want him to go. He's not listening to us. I said, okay, I don't know, such a senior person, how can I go and tell him your family is not being able to convince him? I said, okay, fine. So I just went to him and I said, Bauji, kaise hai? I was like, so very nicely said, Putr, main theek hu. So he was planning a discharge next morning. We were planning his discharge. He's like, Bauji, ठीक हो आप? और अब देखो, अब ध्यान रखना और आप घर जाना, रेस्ट करना, है ना? अभी आपकी एज में थोड़ी इन्फेक्शन का रिस्क होता है, तो थोड़ा अंदर रहना, इन्फेक्शन से बचना, है ना? आप लोग, आपकी फैमिली इतनी अच्छी है, यू ब्लेस्ड. एंड आई मस्ट से अबाउट दैट फैमिली, पीपल वर रनिंग ऑफ, मतलब लीविंग देयर own people and running away, not staying there. This family stood by every member. They used to wear those kits every day, stand by. He said, we are going to be there to motivate him, to be there so that he doesn't feel alone when he's being treated. And that day, I said, you're blessed with such a beautiful family, and they take good care of you. Go back home and relax. And, at this age, you're fine.
Bless.
So somebody popped into my ear saying, it's his 100th birthday tomorrow. I said, what? I said, Bauji, आप कल 100 साल के हो जाओगे? I said, हाँ, पुत. I immediately told my team, get a bouquet and get a cake. And we got that for him. And he was cutting that cake. And when I spoke to him, कि कैसा लग रहा है आपको? कैसा लग रहा है? आप ठीक होके जा रहे हो? कह रहे, तो कह रहे, बहुत बढ़िया बेटा. अब तो मुझे बहुत काम करने हैं. मुझे कनाडा जाना है, मुझे अपनी बेटी को मिलना है, मुझे यहाँ जाना है, वहाँ जाना है. मैंने कहा, भाजी, अभी इतना इन्फेक्शन फैल रहा है, आप कनाडा कैसे जाओगे? आप कैसे जाओगे कनाडा? तो मैंने कहा, ये तो आपके लिए बहुत बड़ा रिस्क है, ये तो आपको नहीं लेना चाहिए. देखो, आपके प्यार करते हैं आपको कह रहे हैं आप मत जाओ. पुत, तू चिंता ना करी, मैनू रब रखा. And the confidence that that man had in that thing, and the faith that he had on the God, I could not speak another word in front of him to convince him that the family had asked him.
Yeah.
I said,
Task and God.
look at this man. And I still tell this story to all my team members that this is what he got out of it twice because of his
Healthy
mental
mind.
will.
Yeah.
Because he had no plans of giving up on his health. He said, Menu rab rakha. Put tu chinta na kari, menu rab rakha. And those words still resonate in my ears. That is the power of mental health. We have this particular thing called ICU psychosis for patients who are long ridden in the ICU. They see those same walls, Because some people might be on a ventilator, might be on a support. That is
But they
just a
might be
support.
they
But they're
might be
conscious. They're
conscious, yeah.
listening. They're watching. And the feeling that I'm alone here, there's nobody who loves me around here, and the same wall, no sun, this thing, it's called ICU psychosis. And after the COVID went, of course, there were restrictions in COVID. You can't have too many
Yeah.
people. There is infection risk and everything. We started this new campaign of I told my psychologist, see, you are dealing with your own patients, but you start visiting every patient and just, have that 10-15 minutes of conversation of, make them feel happy. Allow their attendants to sit with them for an extra 5 minutes. Let them talk. And we really saw that improvement in the patient, in the recovery of that patient, just because they did not feel alone in that journey of healing. So that is what wonders the mental health can do. And today, a lot of people don't understand the importance of this. I mean, yoga is one, this thing that has been given from India to the world. Meditation, I follow some of the very nice, leaders, Sadhguru, I listen to him, Gaur Gopal Dasi. It is so nice to just, a good positive thought can do to you. It can totally rejuvenate and rewind everything, and it can recharge you. So that is the strength of mental health. So we
And
should
when you
give importance to that.
and you spoke about, I think, 2 3 different factors in integrated healthcare, right? Spoke about obviously the physical health, then you also spoke about traditional medicine versus cure rather than prevention, and then you also spoke about mental health. When as a customer we approach a Kailash hospital or similar hospital chains, do we get a integrated solution these days?
Yes, yes. That is what I'm very, very passionately working on
Okay.
right now. If there is a patient who comes into any of the allopathic setups and he has an illness which is labeled under the category of a lifestyle related disorder, that's when there is a holistic healthcare counselor gets activated, and he goes, and apart from the treatment that is continuing, you might be having an angioplasty, you might be having a bariatric surgery, or might be having a knee transplant or whatever surgery or therapy that you're having. This holistic healthcare counselor goes and counsels the patient and tells them that, sir, this is what you have been through, and thankfully you're now okay, and you'll be going back home. But there are certain things that you have to take care of. Even when you go back home, you have to modify your lifestyle in a way that this current condition that you're living with right now will be with you for a while. You'll be having certain medications, they'll be having certain side effects. What you need to do to cope up with that.
Understood.
And at the same time, if you are in a room and there is a attendant or there is somebody who's sitting across and they just say, oh, hamari family mein ye kisi aur kisi, then they would say that, ma'am, you should ask them to meet our counselor and our specialist, and they will guide you in case you have any such doubts. So right now, this kind of a hand holding is what facilitates the to and fro movement. Again, because it's an informed choice, you can't force any kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
therapy to anyone. It's just a counseling done, and then it is left to the patient to decide of whether they would like to move to any kind of an alternative therapy or any kind of an alternative medication. And I mean, I myself did not believe in the wonder of this coexisting
Integration.
of pathies unless my own allopathic doctor tried it, got benefited, and then started recommending it to his patients. Because that the bond of trust between two clinicians, today two clinicians also, but mera patient, uska patient, tune uska le liya, they're also doing this. But in this integrated manner, where not just multiple specialities, multiple super specialities, the body is one, you can't treat anybody in isolation. Is treating you on an acute illness, but is also telling you to correct your lifestyle to prevent the chronic side effects of that particular illness. So many examples. I mean, I was amazed to see they keep uploading all these testimonials and everything. And when I gone through those things, I
In
was
the
so
belief and
amazed
yeah.
that, a patient with a kidney disease who was advised 3 to 4 times dialysis opted for this integrated care. He was taking the allopathic medications, was also taking
Taking the
therapies and Ayurveda medications from the alternative medicine specialist. And I could not believe this. After about a month or so, the need for his dialysis reduced to about once in a week, gradually to once in a month. And 3 to 4 months down the line, His reports improved, the outcomes improved, and he was put off the dialysis by his allopathic doctor. He said, "What have you done? Your reports have improved." Similar stories of patients with cardiac illnesses got treated. Orthopedic patients. There is a patient who has, we call this, bone is a hard tissue, and a pus is a very soft kind of infection
Yeah,
which forms.
yeah,
Normally, it
yeah,
is superficial, you drain it.
yeah.
If it's deep inside some tissue, then you have to first give antibiotics, cure, and then you have to plan a surgery and everything. So he was having mobility issues and everything. And this man reaches, after multiple consultations into multiple corporate hospitals and allopathic practitioners, and he's been advised to surgery and the medications and everything. And he's taking, but somehow he lands up into by through some.
Yeah. It's beyond the specific patient. Yeah.
Yeah. So this case, who had this orthopedic problem, he landed up in the Ayurveda setup, and again he started a combined therapy. Even the orthopedician was amazed to see that after some time, the surgery that he was advised was deferred and actually healed naturally somehow. For a surgeon myself to believe that, oh, where did that pus go? Was supposed to be drained through a surgery, but the scans show it and everything that it got healed and he did not need the surgery, and the mobility issues that he had got treated. Though he's still under follow up, and obviously if there is any relapse or something, then he will be considered for that. But he got healed. So
What's
these
your view,
stories.
Pallavi, on the and therefore self-healing capabilities of the body? I mean, we hear a lot from the Indian mythology, culture, that you went to the Himalayas, were there for in extreme temperatures, but you were still meditating, right? Even now, we hear that there is still a special kind of people who are into this. What's your neutral view?
Yes, I think I totally am in for that because I'm personally a believer in the fact that you are actually assisting the process. The body heals on its own. The
Yeah,
body has
yeah.
mechanisms. God has designed it very beautifully. You're just assisting it with the help of medications and trying to expedite the process because you can't be lying down on the bed for a very long time. If you have technology, if you have facilities, then why not expedite and get back to work? Because you're losing those work hours. So, yes, and a big part of it is the mental part of it. And then, of course, assisting and aiding your body to believe, like some manifestation, and I will be fine. I'll get back to my workplace. I want to do it. And I see that every day in my workplace now. That 75, 80-year-old man gets back from a severe infection.
Belief.
Belief,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
role.
I've read a few books in the last 6 months. Strangely, a lot of them were pointing back to the fact that our body loves it when we talk to it. And if we kind of start assuming that they are waiting for us to talk to them, because for them, in a way, we are God. And they feel elated that God is talking to us. And now we have to kind of abide. We don't obviously follow it as much, but from the stories that I hear, a lot of it seems to be true. And there's so much power inside. And that's where maybe the next level of journey starts. Let's say entrepreneurship, leadership. Eventually, then what? In the path to spirituality, let's say, in a way. And therefore, what's the next level of search? Someone who is driving that this big size of a company. What's your personal view? What beyond this, or is Kailash
That's what I'm
it?
saying, that, as and when I'm exploring these newer
Yeah.
things, it's become a passion to, like I said, that, I mean, right now I'm pursuing this, that I can get it under one bridge. Thanks to our government, they are big
The
institutes have been
integrated
set up
piece.
now, and the same premises, you're getting the consult of both, you're having an informed choice, and you can opt whatever thing. And once you get this holistic integrated care from multiple modalities, we've documented cases where the outcomes have improved, the recovery is shortened, and the need for intervention today has reduced. So the long-term vision of, having setup and having more setups where the aid of all the different specialities and different pathies working together and having that mutual connect and understanding of not having to snatch away a patient from myself and yourself, but looking at
And
the big
yes.
picture of the well being of the patient, because ultimately healthcare is patient centric. What you can do to improve the lifestyle, even when the patient is not, activities have started where we go out and reach out to communities. and we tell them that, okay, you should do this in your lifestyle, and that's going to keep you away. Actually, Ayurveda, the term itself was coined back then,
Yeah.
and Ayu means life. The Ved that helps you increase
Increase your
and
lifespan.
live your life in such a way that you have a healthy life, you have a good quality of life. That was the basic essence. And we had it in our textbooks 5,000 years from now.
Yeah.
So why can't we develop those things? Why do I have to be dependent on a pill? This is actually the frank reality. This one person, 35-year-old boy, and right at the lift, he collapses. He's rushed, has 2 stents placed in his vessels, later on goes back home, and, the father's literally like, if he wasn't in the hospital,
You would have not survived.
he would have not survived. Why are we so taken for granted? Why are we taking, like you said, each cell of your body, the body talks to you. It speaks to you. You are not listening. You are trying to avoid not listening deep within yourselves. What do you want? What does your body want out of you? So please reach out. Today you have a digital consult.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
Just ring in. Talk to a specialist, no? What is the fear? Go and talk. Reach out. Don't be afraid. This is about you, your life. That's the revolution that I'm talking about. That, at Kailash, I want to bring that revolution, that every single person who walks out of the door or even walks in the door should be aware, should be alerted about healthcare, not just as a mode of treatment, but as a way of living. Have you become wiser? Have you become better? Knowing your own body is what Kailash aims at.
Fair, we'll come to the last section of our chat. We call it the rapid fire. So you have to speak from the heart and whatever first comes to your mind. How would you define Pallavi when she's not at work in 2 words?
Spiritual music lover.
From a patient's perspective, what should a person look at while choosing the hospital?
I think multidisciplinary, holistic, integrated, trust and transparency. Most important.
Fantastic. What are 2 leadership habits that you think every leader should have, irrespective of sector of business?
First is, of course, be healthy yourself. You cannot run the business if you're not healthy
Bedridden
yourself.
most of the time.
And second, of course, perseverance, not giving up. As an entrepreneur, you can't give up. There'll be challenges, live up to it.
Yeah, perseverance I think is one word that has given the failures are always higher than the successes in this journey. What is one advice that you want to have for the next generation? We call it the Gen Alpha now. And what would be your top of the mind advice for them?
I think they have already very motivated generation. They don't need too much of motivation. But I think I would assure them of the not forgetting the compassionate angle. So they know about their numbers, they know what they're doing, they're very aware of everything. And but please don't forget the purpose, the whys of why you are actually doing something, and ultimately the human angle of it. So I would just tell them that, they're already motivated. Do your best. Don't look back. Don't be demotivated by failures. Just give it your best. But don't forget the human and the compassion angle of it.
Your favorite leader whom you haven't met yet?
My favorite leader whom I haven't met yet, I think Dr. Reddy. I really, really admire him. He's 90 and I
Yeah.
get to read stories about him of how he's still working 6 days a week for about 6 hours. And I've gone to so many conferences, I've met other people from the fraternity, but he's really somebody who inspires me after my father, that with the kind of vision that he had, taking healthcare, he's one of the pioneers in our fraternity. So I really, really look up to meeting him someday.
In one line, what's the vision for Kailash in the next 20 years?
Growing, touching more lives in North India, specifically initially, and of course working on the integrated and holistic aspect of healthcare in a toto.
Okay, last question in one sentence. What does good healthcare truly mean to you?
Again, I would say good healthcare is a comprehensive, holistic, integrated care that heals, that is again a way of living, not treatment, that makes you mentally, physically, and spiritually well, is healthcare.
Okay, I'm tempted to ask one more. How do you want to visualize your last day as
Your last
day in life,
in the world as
in the
okay.
world. Yeah.
Visualize my last day as.
Yeah. How do you want it to be?
I think, like I said, this profession has given me the chance of serving people. So I think I would be very grateful and I will be very humble, feeling that I have done what I could to the best of my abilities. I might have, not lived up to certain people's expectations, but I'd be grateful to the opportunity of having born in the family like this, born with values like mine. And then the gratitude to, of course, the Almighty of, giving me family, friends, and people. And to be able to touch lives, I think your life is become meaningful. So I think I would be very, very content that I did my best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pallavi, for coming to Bertha India on how they would want to live their life here on. We wish you all the best for the future of Kailash. May
Thank
it
you
keep
so
doing the
much.
good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.